Welcome to Chartless, everyone. I wish you could look at what I am looking at right now because I am in a Zoom room with 12, 15 different people. It's hard because there's more than one person in each box, but I am here with a pretty large group of people. I don't know the record for how many podcast guests people have recorded at once, but I think we're in the running, and this is going to be an awesome conversation. My name is Melissa Mulligan, and I'm talking now to the people in the room, but also everyone listening. For those of you whom I haven't met, I am a singer, songwriter, recording artist at heart. My trade over the last 2 decades has been voice, artist development, and music career coaching, particularly in the recording industry. So that would be contemporary recording artists, singers, songwriters, musicians, performers, producers, music industry moguls behind the scenes, studio owners, scorers for film, TV, and video, everything you can think of. I've certainly coached in a lot of different spaces. I've had students go on to classical careers and musical theater careers as well. But these days I spend a lot of my time primarily focusing on the music industry, which means that independent artists and student of the arts really have my heart and soul. I have been floored with how deeply I have fallen in love with this new generation of music makers. You really are the future of the arts. By extension, I tend to love the parents who really support you, who really are leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of grounded advice, relevant advice, and support for their musically gifted teens, tweens, and 20-somethings. I am not a parent myself. I suppose I have a more macro approach to raising the young music makers of the world today. So I come at this from a very different angle. And I will tell you, over the last 20 years, I have learned so much about what you all go through as parents. And I don't know that you get enough room and space to not only connect with each other, but also to really speak, to really tell your stories about the unique jobs that you have. I'm guessing it's incredibly fulfilling and maybe at times a little bit weird and a little bit stressful. I mean, that's probably parenthood in general. But I think you all have a very, Dr. Elaine has given me this look of like, yes, probably. But we have this amazing group together today, and I'm so glad that you are here and willing to speak with me and share more of your stories with the world. My first question for the group, and I'll call on some of you specifically for this one, is have you experienced fear, pushback, concerns from friends, family members, fellow students, or do you experience like internalized fear and doubts because of what society says, right? Because of our current, especially in America, the current narrative around the right thing to do is to go to college and get a job and play it safe and, go into banking or teaching or something. Allison, I see you're there with all of Team Sage. I'm wondering if Sage's family, if you guys can introduce yourselves and maybe speak to that question a little bit.
Yes, we're here. I'm Allison, Sam, and Sage.
Hello. I'm 18 years old and I'm a music artist. And so I've just been focusing on being a music artist lately and releasing music. And sometimes there definitely is kind of a pushback on just fully committing to that instead of going to like the usual college from like my family members.
But not your parents.
Not these parents.
I mean, I met you all years ago, and it's been an absolute joy to work with you and to witness your development as not only a songwriter and a singer and a musician, but as a producer and an entrepreneur at such a young age. So let me ask your parents, how has it been for you? I mean, Sage has been at this for a long time. Have you experienced pushback, or do you still?
Not anymore, not so much anymore. Originally, yes, it was from grandparents, friends. So what is your fallback? Okay, we understand you have him singing, but what college is he going to? But now, since we've been doing this for so long and we've been getting around more professional settings, people are commending us on supporting him. They say to us, we wish we had that support when we were doing this. And so we really appreciate hearing that.
I always say that too, people will be so proud of you when you get to the other side of the these difficult decisions, but beforehand, their fear might really come at you. So I'm guessing no regrets. I'm sure you're very proud of yourselves as a team.
Yes. It's an everyday creative struggle, and we love it. It's a struggle in the fact that we constantly have to work at it, but we see the benefits.
I know, Christian and Emily, you have kind of an interesting story. Not only did you not push back on your son's desire to do music, it feels like the idea might have generated from you.
Yeah, it was about this time last year, going into his second semester of his junior year in high school, that Jacob and I sat down, and Emily, his mom, we sat down and said, Jacob, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he hadn't put a whole lot of thought to it, but he's like, Dad, I love cars. I think I want to be an auto mechanic. And I said, okay, that's great. I have worked at colleges, taught at colleges, so everybody expects the college route. I'm not going to push that. I sat there and I thought, and I said, well, Jacob, shouldn't you have changed the oil in your own car before you make that decision? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I guess I should have. And then we know his love for music. It's what lights him up. So we asked him, why not music? And he said, well, I don't want to be a music teacher. And I said, I understand that. I don't see that in you either. But he was looking at the traditional music teacher.
Right.
And I said, well, what else could you do? And he said, well, Dad, it's really hard, and it's almost luck of the draw to get discovered. So I asked him, I said, when have your mom and I ever said, oh yeah, you're right, it's hard, don't do it? And he looked at us, he said, well, you've never said that. So yeah. So we said, okay, let's look at this music career and what could it be? And I'm a finance guy. I have no idea what it is. And, Emily runs her business. She's a personal trainer. So we had no idea. So Emily goes into mom mode and she starts looking, how do we make this happen for our son? What can we do? And she comes across your group on Facebook, and so we meet you, we have a meeting. Me being, again, a finance guy, you say, hey, not only can you chase your dream, but you can make a living at it before that dream happens. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. That's great. He can make a living. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. And then chase the dream after. And so that's kind of where we were.
I love that. I love that for you, it was never an either or. And that's how I look at it too. It's not, oh, it's good to chase your dream, but you need to have a plan B or fallback plan in case you fail. It's like, well, actually, let's make sure you have a sustainable income plan so that you can stay in this career long enough to get to where you want to go. That's really the best way to reach your plan A anyway, is to have a sustainable way to walk that walk. So I love that. And I love that you teased him for, if your passion was truly to be an auto mechanic, you probably would have changed the oil in your car at least.
Yeah.
I love that. Nicole and Nick, I'd love to toss it over to you because I know Nick's truly independent academic path, even throughout, the high school years, raised a couple of eyebrows.
100%. I think being Nick's parent, I don't have any other children, so I have nothing to compare it to. But he's never been traditional about anything. It was interesting, though, with his path, because his first musical ever, he never did one. And he went out for the audition and he was like, what should I sing? And he's like, oh, everyone's singing Happy Birthday. It was like 3rd to 8th grade or something. And he's in 4th grade. And he's like, I want to play Willy Wonka. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking there's no way they're going to give him Willy Wonka because he's never done this before. So we just spent the whole weekend going through stuff, and he ended up going in and sang My Eyes Adored You. And, I said, do your best. That was always my thing. Do your best, go for it. And whatever you get, at least you can say I didn't try.
I'd say that's probably, I think, the biggest lesson in my entire life and this is a big thing to say, but of everything that I've learned from her, and there's been a lot, that's probably been one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned from my mom. I think speaking more to my path, I started doing so many musicals and I went to New York, and then there was a whole process of learning how to do that.
He was in 3 musicals at once, picking him up from school. We were maxed out. We were sleeping at home and leaving and in the car and eating from there. And I was just something's got to give because there's no time for anything. But then it was a matter of, what do I do? Because school was an uphill battle there, and going to musicals and doing anything with music was he couldn't wait to do it. So I was like, well, let's do school at home let's get that done in 3 hours a day. And then, you're not going to sit home, get up late, eat ham sandwiches and sit on the couch. You know what I mean? Like, this is, if you're going to stay home. So I made it like a structure, and he did K-12. So we had teachers but the pushback on that was insane.
Oh my God.
People were like, oh, he's going to suffer socially. And I was like, no, he's suffering socially in school. I was like, he's not going to suffer socially being more with the people that he loves. Like the first time he went to musical theater, he's, oh, these are my people. And then he joined like your group and other groups and always connected with people because it was like everybody's from like the same place and like understands each other.
Yeah.
So choosing to keep him home from school, that was a big one. When you're a parent, everyone in this room knows when you make a decision, you don't get like, oh, yay. You get a gold star. You did great as a mom or dad or, like whatever. Like nobody, you don't know. Did you make the right choice? Are you guarding them in the right way? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of intuition, I guess, and knowing what's right for your kid. Because what's right for him isn't what's right for somebody else.
And then college, of course, is the other one.
Right. And then he graduated in June and everybody's like, oh, where you going to college? And
then everybody's saying, if you want to have a career in theater, and then right September, when I would have started my first semester, I booked my first professional theater job at a regional theater.
Thank you for that. I do want to ask Elena, Lisa, and Kelly, I want to ask you a little bit more about some of the unique challenges that you faced in your journey. So Elena, let me throw this over to you. Dr. Elena Johnson, author of Parenting Talent. So you wrote the book on it. So you should have no struggles whatsoever.
Totally easy. My children listen to everything I say openly, willingly, and implement exactly what I tell them to do. No, not at all. I wish. Though they're very aware that we are obviously incredibly supportive. And one of my children had a path very similar to what Nick described in terms of this lit him up from day one. And we went kind of I think for a lot of young singers, if they start young, the obvious pathway tends to be starting in musical theater because it's where can kids sing kind of thing. But I think that the challenges I've had also goes back to this. And I think one of the biggest challenges ties into it in terms of when you choose a different path, people somehow take it as a judgment on their path. So that was probably the biggest challenge as one by one. When my oldest, who was very good at sports and loved sports and was doing sports, kind of fell into musical theater. We already knew the middle one wanted to do it. He was already doing regional theater. The oldest never mentioned it. And he comes home from this award-winning program with a lead. We're like, we didn't know you could sing. And he ultimately chose not to pursue sports. There was already a little pushback there from all the friends he had in sports because he was choosing something different. So I think that's been probably the biggest challenge is as my children has each chosen this unique path under the umbrella of the arts and music and acting, just learning how to, for myself and for them, not listen to the noise that other people create because I'm not choosing their path. And that and recognizing and teaching my kids, their pushback is what's going on in their heads about feeling that you are somehow judging their path. No, your path is your path and great. And I'm glad for you. And I hope you're happy. So I think that's been probably one of the bigger challenges that I have faced. And as each one has hit kind of that college age too, you kind of get a resurgence of it again.
Sure.
If that's not part of your plan.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that, Elena. Kelly, I know you had shared with me a little bit about kind of what's been going on in your school district in particular for you both. Do you feel comfortable sharing, both of you, Kelly and Rylan?
Sure, a little bit. I won't say the name because it's actually a really wonderful school district. We moved for the school district. So when Rylan was 13, he was asked to attend Duquesne University's Mary Papert School of Music. He had been taking classical guitar lessons, thinking of starting, writing music and singing. So he dabbled in it a little bit, no credits, just, after school here and there. Then come high school, they were like, all right, well, want to get credits, like you can leave school early, things like that. So we went to our school district and they were like, oh, well, he would have to rearrange his schedule. He would have to do this. Do you think he can fit in all his classes? Is he going to be able to keep up? We had several meetings. They went okay. Nothing harsh. But it was always just, well, why? Well, he won't get credit at high school for that. But if he went to community college, he could get credit for that. And I'm like, we have a student who is very talented in the arts, not being recognized. He actually got let out of the orchestra because they didn't want guitars there anymore. He was the only guitar player. So he no longer is allowed to be in the orchestra. They have a guitar class he's not allowed in because he's too high level for it. So the classes that they did offer, he wasn't allowed in, yet they weren't giving credit for the classes he was asked to take at Duquesne. Needless to say, he does go to Duquesne. We do classes there. I do pick him up early quite often. We're doing it, whether they say anything or not. And he's getting, really, really good grades in high school and keeping up with everything, and in the musical and in hip hop, and doing it all. And, we've never gotten a star. Like I think somebody said, no one's given us a star of like keeping him in line, keeping this going, doing the things he loves.
One of the main things was our school is very athletic centered.
Mhm.
And so if I was doing anything athletic, they would let me leave early. They would let me skip classes. They would give me credit for that. But because I was doing music, they wouldn't. They thought music was like, it was some downgrade from everything else. And even our music program at the school isn't that great either. It's because most of our budget in general goes to athletics, and it's just kind of frustrating arguing with them about that.
Sure. Well, y'all get gold stars here in this room, 100%. Parents and Rylan, you get total gold stars. I think it's absolutely amazing. I'm going to try not to cry a million times during this conversation, but I'm really, really moved by everything you all have said so far. I mean, the way that you are showing up for your kids and for each other, and you as students, the way that you just know yourselves enough to say, well, no gold stars from this institution, so I am going to find my place, along this journey where I do feel supported. I mean, that's all we can really do in this life, and I always say this, but I'll say it one more time. If you want a career and a life that is uniquely your own, if you want results that 99.9% of the people don't get in terms of mastery of your craft and joy day in and day out, you can't worry about following the herd. You can't worry about not getting gold stars from these epically, iconically old institutions and societal norms, because they're not set up to provide that, And if you're looking and you're saying, well, 99% of the people that I know do this path, sure, and 99% of the people that you know don't want to be and will not wind up with the life that you want. Therefore, it's truly logical for you to go against the grain, And so if you've recognized early on that you're unique and you have a passion, don't doubt it for a second. Don't doubt it for a second. But you do deserve, which is like now my purpose, and my calling and my work, you do deserve some sort of a structure and a roadmap and a sense that you know what to do next and what might follow. I mean, you deserve that, which is why I do what I do and why my team is so supportive in this. But in the meantime, gold stars, big green check marks, gold stars, smiley face stickers on your Zoom screen. From me to you. I think it's amazing. I also wanted to check in with you, Lisa and Dylan. Some unique challenges from your perspective, please.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa. I'm Dylan's mom. Dylan's down in his dorm room in Louisiana. Dylan wanted to be a musician from the time he was 4 and got really intense when he got drumsticks in his hands. And I always knew he would do something with it. But I have a lot of friends who are part-time musicians, right? They're miserable at their IT networking jobs and playing occasional gigs at some jazz club, or a coffee shop, and just really wishing they'd taken another path, right? But, it's the plan B mentality. My challenge is I had no idea how to help Dylan. And I'll say I really related to like what Christian was sharing. I'm computer science, right? If I had a STEM kid, I would know how to help my STEM kid with whatever they wanted to do. And, I don't understand this world of creativity that y'all live in. And I wanted to support it. At the same time, I am a huge believer in education. I think the college experience can introduce ideas, concepts, maturity changes like nothing else. And so I really, really, really wanted Dylan to go to college because I want him to have that, general ed experience that introduces you to the crises of water in Africa, or, like right now he's taking a class in the Bible, which isn't something he'd learn at home. So, just really different experiences I wanted him to have. And if I hadn't stumbled on Mastermind, he would probably be in college majoring in music in a jazz program where he wasn't getting the core, where he wasn't learning the skills that he needs to learn to support multiple income streams like you have to do if you want to be a Plan A performer. And so we got really, really lucky, stumbling into your program. And I kind of evangelize it now because, and I hear you coming out of my mouth. What are you paying college to do for you? You're going to learn music in your daily life. You're never going to stop with music. But how are you learning about being a producer? How are you learning about recording contracts? How are you learning about protecting your intellectual property?
Oh, so Lisa's my new spokesperson. I should just put you on the coaching calls and just let you go with it. That's great.
And so, Dylan, what was challenging for you?
Arguing with me about what to major in?
Yeah, no. For me, kind of the pushbacks that I had were, I think that artists and musicians, I like to think that we're pretty sensitive souls, and you're pretty, in touch with everything. And there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of that, hey, shot in the dark type of mentality. But once you start focusing, you get that like roadmap going, you can start going, oh, this isn't as much of a shot in the dark. It isn't that. I think the biggest factor that I had was not believing in myself. Like I can say there's outside sources, but for me, it was really just that fear and that anxiety. Luckily, my mom's like a superhero, and she refuses to let me give up on this stuff, which, trust me, I've wanted to, but I won't. And I think that's just been the main struggle, is keeping yourself going, through everything. I remember very fondly working with you in our mastermind program. And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it took you a minute to really get clarity around why it wouldn't make sense to major in jazz performance and why it made more sense to do something that could help you out more holistically with your goals. And also, we turned you into quite the engineer producer of your own music as well, which I was so huge on for you. But can you speak to that a little? I was a little bit confused back then, and I really I knew that I liked playing drums. I knew that I liked writing my own music. I didn't know what to do with that. The program really did show me how to do that. But that mentality of what can college do for you? Like, what am I paying college to do for me? Where I could have gone into graphic design and learned how to design my own album covers. What's really been helping me is like now I've discovered all these new doors that have begun to open where I can see, I'm part-time drummer, part-time artist, part-time booking agent right now. I'm getting money from all of those sometimes if I'm lucky, because I'm getting paid by college kids, right? But the discovery of new avenues for me has been really, really, really fruitful. And I would not have known about that if I hadn't thought about, what if I want to be a producer? What if I want to be a manager? What can college teach me to do? Who can I meet here, that'll really help me get towards these goals? Right. I'm so proud of you. I really am. I mean, you've always just been just a great person and just a great, music student and student of the business. But I'm so happy to hear that it clicked. That those conversations that we were having while you were in high school really clicked, and that you've been able to take your roadmap with an open mind into the college experience and make it work for you. So massive gold stars all around. Yeah.
Can I add one thing to that? Because I hear kids like Nick who it sounds like Nick has a very, very clear trajectory. in some ways, right? A lot of uncertainty in trying to make it. But, getting into musical theater at 10 and moving to New York, and that's the kind of prodigy path. I don't know that Dylan's ever felt like that kind of prodigy. One of the things I love about the experience he's having in college right now, too, is like we were talking over Christmas break, and he's asking big philosophical questions like, what is the importance of art in a world that's in chaos? What does music mean? And you know how those things just fall into place? One of the things that's happened that I'm so excited for him is he's gotten an opportunity to go to a program in East Africa. And so he's going to spend 5 weeks this summer in East Africa working on a festival for traditional music and really answering the question of what does music mean in developing societies? Because, for all you artists, there's big existential questions too, particularly when we're looking at a society right now that is sending pretty strong messages that art is not valued. And so you've got to have some kind of inner core and connection to this has real meaning. And figuring out how to find that real meaning, I think is important, and how to tie to why what you do matters in the world, because it matters.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's everything. And most of the artists that I work with have such a strong connection to their art that they honestly, I talk about this a lot in Mastermind too. Like, I don't know what people who don't make music do. I don't understand how they cope, right? But hopefully maybe it's through listening to and connecting with the music that the rest of us make. Maybe that's a part of it as well. This actually leads me to my next question. I got some responses to all of your responses. This were amazing. So we're going to open it up. But the question is, what's the coolest thing, the best thing about being the parent of a musically gifted and ambitious young adult? So Vicky, can I start with you?
Yeah. So I think the coolest part to me is seeing her so steely-eyed, so like so much backbone that I was a pretty put together kid in general. I was pretty square, very boring, but pretty on top of things. I would not have had the audacity to do what she's willing to do, and to see like the grit and responsibility, etc. But at a level that I feel like I don't think that was me necessarily teaching her that. That was her doing that, and then being able to see how proud she is of herself for doing that. That I think was kind of unexpected and gives me a lot of hope to see her able to handle that and to navigate that and to pop back up and duck and weave and elbow grease and hustle to have that happen is kind of okay, maybe this can work. But to see her rise above that, I guess is what I'm saying, is one of the coolest things at an age that I don't think I would have been able to.
First of all, thank you for articulating something that I hear from just about every parent I speak to, which is, you have a kid and it's like your heart gets ripped outside of your chest and then walks around in the world unprotected. But what I'm hearing from you, Vicky, and Helen, I definitely want you to chime in as well. What I'm hearing from you is a couple of things. Number one, it reminds me that when we have a passion, those of us who make music, when we love it that much, it builds grit. And I think it builds grit the same way that being a parent builds grit, because you love your kids so much, you would do anything. You would do anything for your kid. And when you see an artist, when you see a musician, love it enough to get knocked down, take it, and get back up, it's the love, it's the passion that drives us. And so I love that you've recognized that, right, in your daughter, that she's building this resilience, not through you telling her she needs to have it, but through this lived experience. And so before I go on, Helena, do you want to speak to that? Are you just one tough cookie now?
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the toughest cookie in the box, but I know specifically about the things that she's referring to. And I would say, yes, like Dylan was saying, like musicians, you can be sensitive souls. But that also means that you have to be a flexible soul too, because you're sensitive, which is a necessary thing to be able to do this whole music thing and be able to convey your feelings in a way that other people understand. But you also have to be able to heal that really fast and realize that, like, no matter what happens to me, no matter what happens to this outside vessel that I'm using to give you this music, I have to keep that music. I have to keep that art. And that has to be what's driving me, not whatever else is happening outside that. So I think what I've learned is basically not that you should be sacrificing yourself or like your own person for your art, but after a certain point, it's like pursuing this art is like the most important thing to me. And it just matters so much that I'm really willing to do anything. I'm willing to hurt my own feelings. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, sort of situation.
That's so amazing. And you bring up a really good point about needing to be sensitive and vulnerable in order to make great art. I mean, probably everybody here has been told at some point, you need to have a thick skin in the music business. You need to have a thick skin. I say, no. Actually, the people who develop thick skins become closed off to really, really good, important feedback and connection and collaboration. And those are the people that wind up, I think, relatively bitter eventually. You need to stay vulnerable and you need to stay self-aware and keep your empathy and your self-compassion and your compassion for others. So how do we then bounce back? Like, how do we build true resilience rather than toughening up and setting up emotional blocks? It's through the love. It's through the love and the passion for the music, and maybe also that feeling that art and music matter and are important. And I have just as much to say as anybody else who loves music and art. So choosing to contribute and not necessarily chase the accolades, even though I'm giving out gold stars all over the place today, but choosing to show up for the art itself is really, I think, super wise. I think you're a total rock star. Tanya, I'd love to hear from you. You know, I love you dearly, and I'm a huge fan of your daughter, Zoe.
So I 100% agree with Vicky about the bravery. I mean, that was the first thing that came to mind, like watching as a parent of a child that started playing live shows at the age of 10 and really, played a lot of live shows between the ages of 10 and 16, really grew up on stage and a very shy introvert kid. What I loved seeing was her bravery and her flexibility in learning to deal with lessons that popped up that you can't expect. And what I was just reminded of a few minutes ago was the very first song her band wrote. They got a radio interview very soon after the song kind of came out, and they showed up at the radio station, like two 10-year-olds and an 11-year-old. And they went into the little radio station and they were promptly told that they couldn't sing their one song live on air. So, as a parent, I went into panic. Oh my gosh, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to figure it out? It's the only song they've written so far. And it turned out that they really casually, it's like, oh, let's do a Taylor Swift cover. And they just seamlessly switched gears and went into this song. And I just feel like a lot of being on the road and like a lot of these live shows, they were constantly, the band before them didn't show up. So they had to do a double set. And they just learned to be flexible and just take things in stride. So just the flexibility, the resilience, or shows getting canceled, or, they just should really learn to go with the flow. So that was one important lesson.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would want to add here around the bravery is having, a daughter who isn't a very emotionally outgoing person, doesn't share a lot, doesn't let you know what's going on internally, but yet she can stand up on stage in front of 200 people and have no fear, like either sharing a political song or like, standing up for her rights and just being so outspoken. And that always kind of blew me away that, that was inside of her. Like, she's not scared to share in front of so many people. And yet, that one-on-one sharing is really hard. So, what a
Sure.
way to let it out.
Yeah, that must be beautiful to see, right? I mean, there's this myth that if you're a performer, you're an extrovert who loves to overshare and be the center of attention. And we all know that that's not true. But yes, it must be lovely to see her stand in her light publicly like that. Lordalyn, what thoughts do you have? You have a pretty cool kid right there with you. Hi, Jonah.
Yeah, this is Jonah. He's 21 and his brother's 17, and they've actually been doing music for a very long time doing instruments since they were like toddlers. So by the time they were 11 and 7, they had a band, and the band is still going on. They have a rock band. And what's been cool for me raising it, definitely supporting them, but I've been able to witness everything. And I think that's really neat to see from, when they started just playing their instruments and developing this passion for music. And I was like, whoa, they really like this. Jonah loves the guitar, Xavier loves the drums, and they're not stopping. And then when they started playing as a band, they started doing covers, and then they started doing original stuff. That was neat because now they're creatively working together and writing their music, and now they're performing outside of. We live in a small town in Mariposa, so they grew up around this community, but now we're performing all over California and performing outside. So it's been neat doing that, and like just even with their new stuff, it's so just awesome to see your musical kids performing and this crowd reaction. Like, whoa, these people are singing your songs. And I know that makes him feel amazing. I bet when he's on stage, when he sees like he's just started a circle pit and they're all up in front of the stage and they're screaming and they're singing his song, I know that makes him feel amazing. And I'm so happy for them. But also, I think what was really cool is watching the brothers, the amazing chemistry they had. And that was since they were really little. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. You guys get along really well. Someone will say something with one idea, and then the other one will say like, oh yeah, and we can do this and we can do that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's been really fun. It's been fun watching it. It's been fun watching him just go, go, go and staying creative and doing what he wants to do.
I can only imagine, I mean, especially knowing Jonah the way that I do and knowing how much pure joy emanates from you when you play. I can only imagine being the person, one of the people who brought him into this world and how amazing that must feel, especially to watch him get such a great response live and in person like that. Margaret, I know that your young adult is not on the call and you're in the car.
Right. Yeah. I snuck out of work for a little bit, and he's at home doing an online master's program right now. And I know he had a meeting this afternoon. So
no worries.
He's doing his thing.
Yeah. So your son is doing the Berklee Online Masters in Scoring, correct?
He is, yes. So he did his undergrad at Berklee in film scoring and composition, and then spent a year doing the Disney College program, mostly because, he had gotten through COVID and missed some of college. And we said, go have fun. And it was supposed to be 4 months. And then they asked him to extend, and he stayed down there for a full year and had a lot of fun. And then he called up and at the end of it and said, I applied to the Berklee Online program. I think I'm going to come home and do a master's. And we said, okay, because we really didn't know what steps to send him in the next direction anyway. We didn't know how to guide him. He has like some networking tools here and there, but really when he said he wanted to do the master's, for us, it was kind of like, oh, good, that kind of gives us another year to figure this out with him of what his real professional steps should be. He's got, a couple of scored a little advertisement for a little company. He has a couple of games on Steam that he's scored, and he's got passion. I mean, he's convinced that this is his calling. He shares a birthday with John Williams, so he's convinced that's like the sign that film scoring is his life's work.
Sure.
And he loves it. He loves what he's doing. We just have a really hard time knowing which direction to put him in. And he doesn't know even which direction to go in, really. So I think that's probably part of why he felt like, well, I'll just go back to education because I know that. And,
Yeah. This is so very, very common and not necessarily a wrong way to approach this. Eventually, not having a roadmap does catch up with you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
this is very normal, right? So I often work with high school students who are about to go to Berkeley. And some of them will say to me, well, I'm just going to go to Berkeley and then I can write my own ticket and I'll figure it out from there. And I'm like, oh, but so many of the people I work with are Berkeley graduates. Nothing against Berkeley, just any college graduate.
Yeah.
And they're in the exact same place that you're in right now, which is, I know I want to do this thing for 4 years, but then I have no idea what happens next, because it's not an academic institution's job really to personally roadmap your career for you. So the good news is he's gained a lot of experience. He's had, more worldly experience. And like Lisa said, he's had the college experience. He probably knows himself a lot better now.
I mean, he's like all of these kids, so super passionate and has been like this from before he went to kindergarten. His spirit is great. He loves what he's doing. He loves what he's doing. We just have to find him the direction to do it, and that's going to let him, lead a life. And, we have other conversations about, he's also a trombone player. I said, you have all these other assets in your toolbox that you might have to do some of that too, to kind of, add to some income into your life while you build other things. But I'm a designer. I'm not a musician. My husband's a contractor. We don't know the music world at all. So it's always been kind of a like, well, all right, yeah, sure. Berkeley wants to give you money and they have a great film scoring program. And that's what you've decided like is your dream. So let's just go ahead, go do it. Let's do it. But we don't know the next steps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good news, bad news. Good news is he's got a lot of options. Bad news is there is no set next step. Good news is you can't get it wrong. It's not like there's a mysterious pathway out there that you don't know. And if you did, you could hand it to him.
Yeah.
If that was the case, everybody who went to these programs would have the careers that they want, right? But there are musicians like Dylan who enjoy having a bit of that portfolio approach to their career. Like, I make money doing this and doing this and doing this. There are others that I work with, Margaret, who they're like, I need every musical brain cell that I have to go into creating. And if that means that as a sustainable income, I'm a dog walker or I drive for Uber Eats, that is what will serve me best because I need my headspace to be clean and pure for creating. And that's fine too.
I think it's kind of like he needs somebody other than us. We've directed him his whole life. And honestly, I wish I could say I directed him. I don't know if I have. We just let him go. We said, you'll do what we've always said to both of our children, do what you love and you'll figure it out.
Sure. Well, I love that. I love the way that you are supporting your kids in all the ways, with what they need. I think it's really wonderful. Dawn, going to throw it to you. You have two super talented daughters on the call, both of whom I know and love. It's so nice to see you.
I have two at very different stages of life, even though they're only 3 years apart. Caitlin, the older one, is now married and just recently had a baby. So music career has been kind of put on hold. And I know she still has the passion for it, still interested in it. And then I have Rachel, who's more into, and they're on both two separate paths. One's musical theater, one's more contemporary music. So it's been fun to kind of watch both of them go in their directions and then their paths kind of crossing. But I know Caitlin still wants to pursue music at some point, expresses the desire. So I guess my question is, how do you, once you move from that single child, teen, tween, young adult, pursuing music and branding yourself, now all of a sudden you have to take a break and you want to come back. What's the best way to come back?
Ooh, I love this so much. I mean, congratulations, Caitlin, Mama. I saw that you had gotten married. I didn't know that you had a baby. Congrats.
It's still new. We're about 8 weeks in.
Oh, so you haven't slept in a bit. Caitlin, are you planning your comeback?
I would love to. For me, it's going to be a lot of time management. It's going to have to be a big shift. So I know it'll be a smaller scale into a bigger one, but what's your advice to supporting a family and also getting the wheels moving again?
There's no one way to go about this, right? So the first thing that I would say, having worked with several young mothers who've done this, I've lived through it with them, being realistic about the fact that, can I just say this is true for every human being, not just a mother, but being realistic that just because you have time for something doesn't mean you have the energy or the creative headspace remaining for that thing. We only have a certain amount of creative energy every day, and it dwindles throughout the day. So if you are using your creative problem solving skills to like be a new mom or work really hard at your day job or whatever, you will have less creative energy later on in the day unless you figure out a way to kind of restore that and get some of it back. So being realistic about not just time management, I would say, Caitlin, but energy management and creative headspace management is probably key. What do you want to do? Do you want to sing? Do you want to write music? Like what do you most want to just do just for yourself? Let's start there.
I think that for yourself was key. So through the pregnancy and all of that, I did a lot of background work. I'm in Nashville. I did a lot of songwriting jobs for other people. That way I still had the creative outlet, but it wasn't for myself.
Is that really where you feel like what you need the most, just like to feed your soul, is taking the time? Yeah. And I'm going to use a Dr. Elena trick. What is the barrier that is keeping you from spending 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day doing a songwriting prompt? Not even writing a song, just like I'll give you some of my songwriting prompts from Mastermind. You can go back to them. But what keeps you from playing around with just being creative for 5 to 10 minutes a day? What's the barrier?
I think for me, it's knowing now that there's other people depending on you where baselines have to be met. So I keep putting myself on the back burner to make sure we're financially set. On top of that there's houses clean, meals on the table. So it's, again, trying to find that selfish part again.
Ooh, so it's not really time management. It's just permission. It's just permission from yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Elena, may I introduce you to Dr. Elena Johnson? You knew I was bringing this one right over to you because you're so good at these conversations. Please.
So are you okay with me putting a little bit on the hot spot, Caitlin? So Mel asked you what was the barrier to 10 or 15 minutes. And you answered what was the barrier to jumping in and going out and gigging. So I think it's really important when you're trying to get back into something creative is to not let yourself do that leap. It's you're so focused on the end result that you're not breaking it down to the earlier thing. And also, if this is about feeding your soul, committing to 10 or 15 minutes a day is going to add up and it's going to feed your soul. And I really find that when people are able to do that, other opportunities start to open doors that can fit into their lives. So you're talking about, of course, the very pragmatic things. Of course, people are dependent on you. So your ability that you probably had 5 years ago to just be like, I'll eat ramen every night. It's fine. It's not quite the same as it was. But the barrier to 10 or 15 minutes, I have a feeling it's something deeper than that. And I don't know you, but I can tell you what it is for a lot of creatives. And it's, if I put the 10 or 15 minutes in, what if it still doesn't lead to anything? And then I'm going to feel like that somehow has closed the door to the creativity. So it's almost safer to just not even do it than to commit to that 10 or 15 minutes a day and just hold with that. Don't try to even think bigger than that. Like, I'm just going to songwrite for 10 or 15 minutes per day. I'm going to commit to that and nothing more. I'm going to put no more pressure on myself than that. I'm going to see how that feels for a month. And very much what Mel said, right now, that's probably all you have the mental capacity for because you're sleep deprived. So I think just setting that realistic goal and boundary for yourself as a way to start. But your question was, how do you start? That's how you start. It's just something as simple as I'm going to commit to just this little bit and I'm going to give myself, however many months you think it is, that's all I'm going to do.
Does that help, Caitlin?
It really does. Thank you.
Awesome. And how are you doing, Rachel?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been active. I do a little bit of like songwriting and playing out here and there, which has been fun. Then I decided to, I don't know, like right before last year, I'd been doing a lot of like choreographing and like a lot of like community theater and everything. And I was actually ended up at a callback in Broadway for a national tour and Broadway show somehow. Just like, I don't know quite how it happened, just just from like randomly submitting. So then after I just did Elwood's and Legally Blonde, and after that I was kind of like, I haven't really been committing much time to this. What would happen if I commit more time to this? So before the end of the year, I had a list of a bunch of theaters that I just wanted to submit to, more to like help my soul so I could feel more creative. And I actually just booked a gig in Florida. So I'll be there for 8 weeks doing a show, which is exciting. So it's just kind of been like all really fast. I'll be Carole King and beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been kind of fun because I'm definitely a person where I think theater and music and playing, performing has always been like my escape, and it's always been something fun. So my biggest like hiccup, something that like kind of keeps me away from really going for it, is the fear of what if I don't like it when it's my livelihood and it's everything I do. Like the fear of the unknown, the anxiety. I get a lot of that. I've dealt with that my whole life a lot. So I think it'll be fun to see like, actually taking these opportunities that come up and see what happens, dip my toe in and, maybe explore it even more. So yeah, it's been fun.
That's so amazing. And you brought up something really important, which we didn't talk about much yet today, but that's just that sort of that fear of success and fear of failure are the same fear. It's fear of the unknown. It's fear of change, and what happens and how will I feel and how will I like it. But I'll also tell you, I don't think this is going to happen to you, Rachel, but there is nothing more empowering than an informed pivot. Like I was working I actually had a really successful corporate job in medical devices when I was in my early 20s. It's the dumbest thing. I took a temp job as a sustainable income and they kept promoting me, and I wound up like the product manager for a line of surgical staplers. I was like in the OR watching surgeries, and the surgeon was telling me how the things needed to articulate. I mean, it was just, my mom was appalled. She was like, she liked like the safety, but she was like, you're an English major and a singer. You should not be in a surgical suite while people are having surgery. What are they doing? I was like, I'm just doing my job, right? But to your point, Rachel, I had this moment where I went, I don't care about this job and I'm killing it. Like they're throwing promotions at me left and right. Like this, what if I because it was a demanding job, right? So it's like, what if I put 60 hours a week into something I care about? Couldn't I make that happen for myself? Couldn't I figure out how to make a living? And I did. I performed original and cover songs in a band and as a solo show, like around the country. I was playing 200 shows a year. That was how I made my living, was doing that. At some point, I decided that I liked teaching for pay more than I liked performing to like feed myself and put the lights on. But I was able to make that informed decision and pivot when it was the right move for me. Not like, well, I never really tried, but I probably wouldn't have liked it anyway, and at least I didn't burn out. Like I was able to do the empowered thing. And so I so appreciate that you're going to go for it. You're going to take it seriously, feel it out. You can make empowered decisions and you'll have more and more opportunities from all these professional work that you're doing. So I think that's awesome. We probably have a couple more minutes. If anyone has a question, you want to do any little quick laser focused road mapping questions, or if there's something that you really wanted to share about any of the things we talked about today. Yeah, Rachel.
I just wanted to chime in really quick. So, with the whole like getting back into it and kind of figuring out how to do it, I think I had a moment of like, what am I doing? But I just want to say, like, I saved all of the stuff I had done like in all my mastermind classes. So I like had a moment of, oh wait, I know exactly what I'm doing. I've already learned all this. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, because I feel like everything that I have learned from the program gave me such like a level up, gave me like, I don't know, leg up. I don't know what the right term is, but it gave me a lot of confidence and like, oh wait, I have a little dog in this fight because I know what I'm doing a little bit. So yeah, just want to say thank you.
I love that. So proud of you.
To piggyback on that, as a parent, I didn't know what I was doing. I know a lot of other parents spoke to that. This is not my forte. I was the athlete. I run an athletic business. I am not in the creative arts, and running across what you do, Melissa, and your group and parents. I wish I would have known about it or had been available earlier on in Caitlin's career. I probably would have started there, and I feel like we would have had a little bit more of for her, a little bit more of a leg up, and we made probably a lot more mistakes when I was working with her, trying to guide and support her, and was able to kind of learn from those with Rachel. And, but a lot of that has to do with what we were able to learn from your organization, the opportunities that you gave my kids. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much, Dawn. I appreciate you so much. And I mean, what a blessing to get to work with both of your amazing daughters. Vicky and Helena, did you have a question or something, or are you just excited now because you've realized?
Just an aside to Rachel, and I was wondering where in Florida she was performing, and it turns out she's performing like where we live.
This is amazing. You know, I get asked a lot about networking, like how do I build my network? How do I build my community? And I'll just tell you this story briefly. We had a manager in, like a pretty big artist, A&R rep manager, in talking to one of our music career mastermind groups. And at the time, he and his team were managing Logic, John Bellion, Chelsea Cutler, Jeremy Zucker, I think maybe like one other. And there are all these like very talented songwriters and producers and recording artists in the group. And they said to him, so how do I like break into the music industry? And he literally went like this with his hands. And he was like, this is the music industry. Welcome to the music industry. Because everyone here within 6 months to 3 years from now will be more established and in the mix and doing what you want to do. And so start collaborating with them now. And you are the music industry. There's no gate. It's not like it used to be, so build your community up, like go parallel, you're in it. This is your network. This is your community. Welcome to the music industry. And like literally that just happened, right? Right. You guys now have these, amazing connections from across the country. And for all we know, you could stay in touch and do shows together and collaborate with things for the rest of your career. You never know. All right. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Yes, Elena.
I just wanted to make a quick comment to the parents. And this is something I say to parents all the time. I keep hearing and completely relate. I didn't know music. I don't know music. I just want to support my child. And this kind of almost, it can create a little of anxiety, not knowing like, what's next? What do we do next? How do we figure out the next thing? And what I often ask parents is I say, if I could go back and talk to 18-year-old you, could you predict the job title you have now or the career you're in? I'm probably one of the few people who said, I want to be a psychologist, and went straight through college and got the degree and had a pretty clear path. But the vast majority of the people I know, if I ask them where they started, what their major was, and where they are by the time they're in their 40s and 50s, for example, meet the medical device tech that is leading all of this. But just remember that this is not unique to the arts. This kind of feeling of, I don't know what comes next. I don't know what the next thing is that I'm going to do. So it's okay. That's kind of the beauty of it, is that it's exciting and they get to have this opportunity to explore. And that exploration is very normal, not just an arts thing, like figuring it out in your career, maybe taking a few jobs you don't love because they pay the bills, but that happens in just about every career. So I just wanted to remind parents of that, because I think there's that little bit of fear with the arts because, again, external forces put this idea on us of how are they going to feed themselves? And I say, well, there's a lot of people in a lot of careers who aren't quite sure, but they figure it out. They figure it out. And at least your kids are doing what they love. They get to do what they love. And that's amazing.
When I was quitting my surgical device job, I really thought that all of my bosses who were in their like 30s, 40s, and 50s were going to yell at me, right? Because of course, when you're like in your early 20s, you just assume all adults just hate you and are going to judge you. But I really thought they were going to yell at me and say, do you have any idea how lucky you are and how many of your peers would kill to be making what you're making, and you're going to make such a big bonus and you're such an idiot? Every single one of them said, oh, thank God, go. And they all said, you're so talented, because I was still doing music, like what? And they would come see the shows, right? They're like, you're so talented. You clearly love this. Go. We'll be here if you want to come back. But go. And then they all said, I always really wanted to blah, blah, blah. I always really wanted to be an airplane pilot. I always really wanted to be an artist. I was really good on the violin. I always really wanted to. Boy, I hope my kids are as brave as you someday. Like, so no one was there going, I'm living my dream. I did everything right. Everybody who was in those like corporate jobs was kind of like, oh, I really wish I did what I loved. That was such a huge, huge, huge lesson for me, is like Elena said, like no one's really got it all figured out no matter what, but at least we know what we love. At least we know what we love. And that can be a really powerful compass for us, no matter what we have to do to keep the lights on in the meantime. That can be a powerful compass. Pursuit of excellence at something you love always leads to great opportunities. You never regret pursuing mastery at something that you're so passionate about. All right, really quick, in like one sentence or less, the students who are here, I'm going to call on you. Best piece of advice you've gotten from your parents so far. Dylan.
Okay. My mom just never give up, stay friends with people. And the other thing that I learned in this program that my mom also really taught me after many years of trying to throw it through my head, write thank you emails and stay in contact with people.
Do you know how many mastermind graduates, when I ask them, like, what's the best thing that you learned? So many of them say how to write emails and how to follow up. Like, are you kidding? Not like how to produce your own music and who you are as an artist, huh? Like what's really changing your life is the fact that you know how to write an email and follow up. It's such a good lesson. I love it. Helena, best advice from your mom?
From my mom is, okay, totally agree. Follow up, follow up, follow up. I literally have a piece of paper sitting to the left of me right now that says reach out, ask, volunteer, remind, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. And then the other piece of advice is when in doubt, take action. Like send that thank you email, say hi to that person, tell them you enjoyed their performance, whatnot. Just do something and it will always lead to good things. So,
and show up for a podcast interview with a stranger that your mother met online. Perfect. Good advice. Rachel.
If you're going to do something, do it 100%. She usually says it in a way that's probably not PG, but basically give it your all the time.
Love it. Caitlin, since you have the same mom, I'll call on you next.
Her big thing is why not? So when in doubt, why not?
I love it. Sage?
One thing I've definitely learned is just to believe in myself, because it's hard to have other people believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So that's one thing I've learned from that.
I love that. Nick?
If you're ever in a situation like 100% like pursue everything that you dream towards and like that you like makes you happy. But like if something's not making you happy, like being honest about that. And like you said, having the backbone to make those pivots, even when it's hard, because you close the wrong door, the right one will open.
Love that, Nick. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a fan of quitting things when you know it's not right. Yeah. Jacob.
For me, I'm a very disorganized person, and I just have to intentionally put things down, like whether it's on my phone or something else. Like I have to set aside a time just so that I can get stuff done. And like it's also important so you don't feel overwhelmed and overworked. And I want music to be my passion and not something that I have to do.
So your parents help you try to manage that a little bit for yourself?
Yeah.
And your dad told you to change the oil in your car, probably. That's important advice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found out what works for me does not work for him.
Right. Jonah, how about you?
I feel like the big thing my parents told me was just to do what I love in life. And that's the main reason why I'm doing music, because I love it. It's my entire life. But my dad's a software engineer, and he's really good at what he does. But he's told me a lot of times, just because he's good at it, that doesn't mean he loves doing that. So he's told me a bunch of times just to keep following my passion, and yeah, that will take me far in life.
I love that. That's beautiful. And Ryland, we're going to wrap up with you. Both of your parents are here today. Hi, Tony. We didn't get to check in with you yet. What's the best advice you've gotten from your parents so far?
I'd probably say staying connected with as many people as possible, because I've made so many opportunities accessible to me by staying connected with so many different people and continuing to connect as you go along. It just opens the world so much for what you want to do.
Well, on that note, that is an absolutely beautiful ending to this really awesome conversation. I am so thrilled. This was really fun. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here with me today. You all know how to reach me and how to get in touch with me. For anyone listening, I will have info in the show notes for this episode on how to get in touch with me and also how to get in touch with some of the artists who are here today who have public facing profiles that might want to have some new fans and some new collaborators in their world. You can reach me directly at mastermindroad.com. That is where you can find out how to get in touch with me, how to tell me more of your story, ask me questions, inquire about doing some sort of coaching or getting involved in the Music Career Mastermind community, which is the love of my life. This has been Chartless with Melissa Mulligan. Thank you for hanging out.